point so far in what has been a relatively disappointing event for APAC. That is until today, when suddenly you see Direwolves being far more competitive. You see CAG now within striking distance of actually making it out of their group because of struggles from both Black Dragons and M&M. And boy, oh boy, my eyes will be glued to that screen when Cyclops ends up in their match. W7M and SSG in the ban phase for Oregon. Ying is the first operator taken out of play by W7M. If you have spent even 4 seconds watching Space Station in North America on Oregon, you know exactly why they would get rid of Ying. SSG taking smoke out on defense is... That is definitely a decision.
SSG are heavily targeting the basement bomb site in particular. Both the Flores and the Smoke are two stellar operators for that position. And Smoke is a target ban that any team in theory could do because it's always going to impact the opposing team a lot because every single member, I mean, almost every single team in the world besides Rogue, they typically bring a Smoke and no one is banning it. So you're not really going to be practicing under those circumstances of not having it available to you. So SSG, they're going to bring that fire, go out at the target ban, and W7M will just follow up with a stable Asami as well. Also worth noting, SSG is starting on the attacking side, so removing Smoke from the board gives them that first 6 rounds where they can try and get as many rounds victories as possible, and then they can swap over on defense where they've already prepared for their side how they're going to play around the missing operator.
This is going to be Space Station's first time on this map here at the Sweden Major, the Jönköping Major, I suppose. This will be W7M's second crack at it. 7-3 over Fury, the very first match that W7M played. And it was quick work, light work, you could say. It's the second time these teams have gone head-to-head as well. W7M on the first day played Space Station and prevailed 7-3. That was on Border. Border, a very different map, far more unpredictable in a lot of ways than Oregon tends to be. Oregon can be quite routine. This bomb site in particular, oftentimes, you're going to see where the defenders play pretty consistently.
So just kind of set the tone here. If you guys are not familiar with W7M, Casey, who's currently on Warden, is going to be the star player to look out for because right now at this event, he is dominating the board. #1 in rating at 1.64. The second highest is June from Heroic at 1.38. He's also #1 in entry, #1 in plus minus, and 3rd for clutches. In other words, Casey shows up every single match so far and is the player from W7M that's been pushing them forward on an individual level in these matchups so far.
Casey brings a lot to the table for W7M. There's no shortage of tools at their disposal. We've seen Volps take over games, and there have been incredible international performances from JV as well. We will use JV92. We'll just use JV as a shorthand.
Yeah.
Space Station endeavoring right now through the first minute of action to clear out off the bomb site, and that's, you saw Fultz rappelling up using the Amaru to get into the top of the tower. At the moment, being droned in by his colleagues and himself to a certain extent, but ultimately operating solo. I have to assume, like most attacking teams, that the fixation that they will have will be on Meeting Hall and over towards the blue component of the map. That's the bunker down below. Clear those out and deal with it from there. I mean, hey, there's no smoke on the board, so Elbow is going to be, the position where KZ is right now, is going to be much easier in theory to take. You don't have to worry about, well, my disc stopping you to keep a smoke alive with a deployable shield there in that particular position. But instead, KZ is going to get a little bit brazen. They could have had an engagement there against Fultz, but immediately they will know that someone is in close proximity as the drone is shot away at, and KZ will test the reflexes of 2 separate players from Space Station. Gets out of there, but the grenade will be the first one in. It's not a player, but it still does some serious damage. And down goes one of the players from W7.
SSG can slow things down and just take 10 seconds for themselves. They don't gotta rush through. There's no smoke is off the board. They have time on their side. JV has retaken that elbow position with a C4 in hand, but Volps, he takes down Volps first. It's a 4 vs 4 with 30 seconds on the clock.
They have not cleared out that back tower stairs position either. Space Station desperately need to do it. Down goes Volps, hot and cold, following in on the nade. He guns down Julio. Herds on the run out, gets captured by the Claymore, and the last player of JV92 punished by Yeti as Space Station takes round #1.
The basement bomb site of Oregon is normally where every single team will go given the chance. And with the Flores and Smoke ban, I mean, the Flores makes attacking more difficult, the Smoke makes defending it more difficult, but I would definitely argue that the Smoke ban has a much bigger negative effect on that bomb site than the Flores. So W7M, there might be a situation where they might need to reconsider the bomb site rotation because of this ban, especially if they can't make it work. Now, the first round for Oregon is always about kind of figuring out what's the tone for this map. How aggressive is W7 going to play in the roam, and how much time does SSG need to give themselves to safely get into the building? And we kind of saw it that round. We came down to sub 20 seconds on the execute, but again, the smoke ban allows for that time to be taken, and there was an aggressive early run from Hertz inside the master bedroom, but he didn't really find anything of value there because SSG was just calmly droning out and taking their time. So now that the tone has been set, it's up to W7M to either match and go more aggressive and slow down SSG further, or play safe and just try and play for that 5 versus 5 circumstance. But that is where SSG as a team, they're very strong at doing that teamwork and coordinated executes like what you saw in that first round. Do you have any information to share with us, Parky?
I don't really have much to talk about.
No, I was curious if you knew what the timer was still.
We were told that there's a technical issue ongoing at the moment. It looked, with the huddle being the way it was, that it was on W7M's side of things.
Okay.
I will say we've been very fortunate this event to mostly escape the fear of rehosts.
Yeah, I mean, we've had some slight pauses like here. Also worth noting, W7M, they were hovering that basement bomb site for a period of time during the pause, but they've actually gone to kitchen towards that tail end of it. So the question was asked, do they go basement again? Do they go basement as much as they arguably should statistically because of these operator bans? The answer so far is, we're going to try something else. And they're going to play the dining kitchen, not the kitchen meeting bomb site. Now, there's two primary ways you can play this. One is where you play, let's say, the quote-unquote normal approach. You'll play on the bomb site as you see on your screen, you go one floor up and you'll hold upstairs inside of kid's bedroom, the big window and attic where JV is currently reinforcing. Then there's a second option, which when you go into the small tower, you can go all the way to that beginning of the map on the west side, when you can play on this top floor area and try and just play the utility game against the opponents. Now, as we can see, W7M, they chose option number 1. They're going to be extending out bigger and wider on the map with all 5 members, and SSG, they have to then challenge and try and take that apart, get that vertical play going, and it's going to start in Big Tower with Yeti flying into the window.
I know that you focused on KZ, but JV has some pretty darn good stats as well. Starting off the day, or ending yesterday rather, in 4th place, falling down quite far in the standings in terms of ratings, but still just outside of the top 10. Bosco, not too far behind, and Herds in the same stratosphere as well. Oregon has been played 4 times so far in the groups. Ultimately, a very defender-sided map. 67% of all rounds played on Oregon have broken in favor of the defense. For those of you that are quick at math, that means 33% of the time the attackers win. So expect the defenders to emerge with a 4-2 scoreline. That right now is how Oregon is playing out. If that's the case, and there aren't small changes made, then you go to overtime with both the teams having the upper hand depending on who gets those 2 rounds of defense. Space Station winning the first round attack obviously does bode well for their chances.
Yeah.
This bomb site of kitchen dining has only been played 3 times so far. It's been won by the defenders every single time. Nick, and would you look at that?
It's off to a good start.
Very first pick for Volps.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good trade between Hot and Cold and Volps because, like, yeah, sure, Hot and Cold got killed, but Volps is 1 HP with no Doc or Thunderbird on the board. And SSG, they gained what they wanted with that death. They get Kid Storm's control.
This is also a bomb site that it is not uncommon to see a Thunderbird get brought for some staying power for the defenders. It seems that they don't need it right now. Space Station has suffered yet another casualty, and a 5v3 for W7M with a minute to go is a pretty nice spot to find yourself in. A 5v2 is even better, and that's where they go, with Yeti failing to make any significant noise. It's all on the shoulders of Rampy and Bosco. Explosions aplenty around, and W7M don't need to expend too much effort as they just simply wait for the last two players, Diffuser in Bosco's hands, to make it closer to the bomb site.
The issue with having only 2 members alive for SSG is that you don't have enough verticality control here. You can open up the floor all you want, but there's not enough bodies to hold those angles. And W7M, another C4 kill, and it's all down to Bosco.
Top-rated player for Space Station so far through this event. He's got the diffuser, and he meets his fate at the hands of a very familiar gun. Bosco loving that SAS shotgun. Smoke is banned. It's a mute to do it. A flawless round from W7M to bounce back and tie the game.
And question comes again, which bomb site rotation are we going to go for? And we are going to see them hover Kid Storms as secondary choice now, despite winning that tertiary bomb site. And the great thing about Oregon is that you have 4 playable bombs that you can work with, so you're not limited to just 1 or 2 or 3. You can go all the way and really flex your strats on this map. And the great thing for W7M is that if you can win that kitchen dining bomb site, well, kitchen meeting plays in a similar-ish fashion, with the exception of how you can really hold big tower. So they have a lot of tools to work with right now. We saw Volps play mirror in round number 1, then they did not bring the mirror last round. Now they're back on the mirror again. So they have many different ways to set these bomb sites up. You mentioned it, Parker, with Smoke being banned, Mute is probably going to get brought every single round as a substitute. You get the shotgun, get the SSG-11, of course, choose between a C4 or a bulletproof camera, both of which W7M they'd like to play around. We saw both of those scatter-trees being used in the previous round. 2 C4 kills went out, and a bulletproof camera on the bomb side ensured that information was there in case SSG were to make it far enough in the round to approach the bomb site itself. In SSG, they have, again, 2 options. Attack Big Tower, attack Master Bedroom Balcony. You could go for a small tower west side clear as well, but seeing as there's no buck on the board for SSG, that doesn't seem like a likely outcome. This Claymore further enhances that. When you Claymore a door like that, that means you're not intending to go in that area. You want to cover it with a Claymore for a jump out because your focus is going to be elsewhere. I mean, look at this 4 Claymore duty right now. And hot and cold, he opens things up with an opening kill onto Frost. That is Hurts off the board.
Frost may be dead, but the Frost mats will persist, so Herd's still providing some value on this bomb site, even if the gun is gone, and immediately Herds will go on to cam duty. That's always where you go on the first death.
Oh,
speaking of, Fultz hops in Armory, gets down by the Frost mat, and KZ will just pad their stats.
That's tough. I mean, you get the advantage, you lose it right after, and KC follows up with more damage, jumps out the armory window. Nice shot down from Medi, but the damage is done. 3v3 heavily favors defenders on Oregon because it's a defender-sided map, and to make matters worse, W7M, they keep up the aggression.
That's right, and a late reinforcement from Volps. One thing that flew under the radar now, as Space Station's in a 2v3, Rampy on Repel, is that some of those X-Kairos of the Hibana Bosco were used on that closet wall. It got shot out by a W7M player, denying Space Station access in, and that's when the late reinforcement from W7M came into play. And we fixate an awful lot on kills, one of which Rampy just got on your screen against JV, but sometimes utility work is equally important, if not more round-defining, than a single kill or 2. Denying easy access for Space Station through that closet wall, denying them a way to walk in and get that diffuser down as easily as it could have been, is monumental for W7M. And while the numbers have narrowed, you still got to think they are in significantly better position on defense than Space Station is right now, holding on to that diffuser.
No, you're right, and there's no hoppers available for Space Stations. That wall being closed, that means you got Attic and you got a door to Trophy to walk in towards. With 40 seconds left, crossfire established from W7M. They can play far back. They have 2 C4s. SG, they cannot plan. They gotta find at least 1 kill here before trying anything else.
I'll go fishing for these final 2 players, Julio and Volps. Both playing awfully safe. Julio, a name that has not been on the tip of our tongue at all. There's a proximity blast that goes off. Space Station approaching from Attic side by side. Volps with only 12 bullets has not gone for the reload. Doesn't need to. Pulls out the secondary sidearm, and Julio has his teammates back. That's 2 in a row for W7M, and they'll take the lead.
There we saw it. It's so hard to attack against this. I mean, let's imagine for a second that Space Station tried to go for a plant. Well, the only member that can cover has to worry about 3 different angles. You know, the Kid Storm's door, the Attic rotate, and the rotate top white that goes in towards that old generator / new closet area. You can't cover all of it, so you're gambling. Plus, there's a C4 still in pocket for W7M. And SSG, they're opting for an early tactical timeout. And you might be wondering, why would they do that? And the thing is, with the smoke ban, being done from SSG, them starting on attack, they're counting on getting multiple attacking round victories to then go on their arguably more comfortable defender side, but it's not going to be an easy task. So they need these 2 or 3 attacking rounds. That's what they're betting on, because W7M, when they go on their attacks, they're not any worse in their defense. That's the thing about them. Statistically speaking, they're almost even across the board on both sides. Doesn't matter where they start. They can do it on both areas.
Well, it was a timeout. Just coming to an end as we get underway with W7M's second attempt at laundry and supply. Down below, Nick, this was the bomb site that broke in favor of Space Station and started off this entire map. SSG took that first engagement against KZ by blue, walked in, fought off the defense by the bottom of those stairs leading into the back portion of the bomb site, completely ignored laundry, and got pick after pick in that ensuing brawl that all happened around Pillar and very small part of this map. All this real estate on Oregon, and they choose to put 10 of their players in, or all 10 players in roughly the same spots, and Space Station came out ahead on that. For W7M's side of things, there's been some obvious changes here. We don't see the Warden anymore. What we see out of this lineup suggests to me that there will be far more of a roam presence for W7M. And they won't just consolidate inside of the bomb site. If they choose to do that, it might come a little bit later. Now, just because the operator lineup looks like there might be a roam doesn't necessitate an actual roam. They could decide to play safer in the bomb site, and with the Ella playing with the deployable shield in elbow, it's entirely possible that W7M are going to stick to this bunker-style defense.
And Ella has a shotgun as well, so Ella herself could not be the roamer. It's down to Casey and Julio, if anything, to have this early aggression. We do see Volps on the default camera. That's because he's on the bomb site. He's going to grant information to those key members that are on the more aggressive side. And the goal here is not to get a kill, per se. It's to shut down the information game from SSG, kill a drone, fall back one room, kill another drone, fall back the second room. Here we go. Casey's been spotted, and you see he can no longer aggress. He has to respect that information and fall back towards safety, because the net is, it's tightening in. Rambi came from the white stairs from top floor. You had the Iana, that's Foltz coming from small tower. And you don't want to fight 1 versus 2 in that position, especially without information once that default camera has been shot. The great thing about the bomb site for W7M, they have mirror windows, they have Grismot mines from the Ella, and notice 2 of them still in pocket because we're waiting to see where the main execute will come from. Typically when you attack, you open up all the hatches. So you have to wait until the last 30-40 seconds to get a good idea of where the actual attack will be happening from. That's why Volps is holding on to those Grismot mines, because there's no need to guess when you can know later on. JV is trying to trick those kite claws, so he's going to see here. Pellets goes out, so does the claw. If there's no EMP from Yeti, which there isn't, he tricks the hatch successfully. Now, it's not a massive value as of yet. Still got 10 more Kairos to go, but it's wasting time and forcing out unnecessary utility that SSG, they would have rather saved those EMPs for later on. Now, 2 of them get spent for a single hatch, and JV still got 1 more claw in pocket.
And you can juggle that hatch, whichever you so choose, even though the one inside of security has been opened up. Space Station taking their time with this final minute unfolding in front of them. The small changes from W7M, big changes actually, depending on how you look at it, might make a huge difference. Claw goes out for JV. Does it get it in time? Oh. Yes, it does. Denying Space Station that hatch, and with only 2 Kairos to go, they are not going to be able to open it up. That is a damning blow to Space Station.
It is, and it signifies that W7M, they're probably going to go for a front-side attack from Freezer and Laundry because they don't have that meeting hatch control. At the very least, backside, it looks like it's hard to attack, but they're still going to go for it. 4 members are here.
2 players stacked up on that landing to push down the stairs. Bosco, the first one to meet W7M head on, and KZ is in the same spot. They are slaughtering SSG. It's all up to Yeti, and it's another flawless round for W7M as they're up now 3-1.
Yep, I mean, I really like the Ella pick in that scenario. Not only is the shotgun so hard to fight against, despite it getting nerfed time and time again, that thing is kind of busted. But the Grismot mines, if you ask Volps, where are your mines being put at? And he says, oh, one freezer hatch drop, 1 laundry stairs. If you don't hear those pop off or an EMP in that area, you know that it's clear. And even though Nuke is being played and brought by Rampy in that round, they know Nuke cannot sneak in anywhere and go unseen because of those Grismot mines. So what W7M can do successfully is put 4 to 5 guns in the same area, the same angle, and it's so hard for SSG to force their way through, especially when that Ying is banned off the board. Imagine it was available. Throw out Candela, smoke grenades, deny lines of sight. You get the initial opening kill, chaos ensues, you get a bit of map control, bomb site presence, and all of a sudden, SSG, they might have a really good position to play from, but that's not the case. They never quite get in and get comfortable because it gets shut down before it even begins. And you see Yeti right now, attacker repicking for his life. Lion, Thatcher, Nomad, Ash, just trying to figure out what am I going to bring and what does the team actually need and benefit from. And it ends up in hot and cold actually bringing out the Monty instead. Normally when you see this bomb site being defended, the meeting and kitchen, we see people go into Osa. And you go big tower and you open up the wall, you put down a shield, etc. The Monty can do the same thing, really, right? You extend your shield, you walk around, gain information, you can safely plant. But the way W7M is playing, they're not gonna let this happen. And if you look at their lineup, they have Rook and Doc, Alibi, Jaeger, and Melusi. They're gonna swing you every single area that they can because they have no utility. No smokes, no C4s, no nothing. They're gonna fight you everywhere they can because that's their win condition.
Talked about staying power and what operators get brought.
All of it.
Yeah. I mean, you've got a Doc, you've got a Rook, you don't need the Thunderbird. Space Station losing Rampy, who's now 1-5. This is dangerous territory, and again, for fans of NAL, you know this position quite well. When Rampy goes 1-5, it's easy for him to lose his mental and the rest of Space Station to suffer for it. Two, Space Station are fighting for their lives here in groups. 6 points, or 6 rounds rather, for W7M, guarantees them at least 1 point, and then they will make it into the groups, or out of the groups, onto the main stage on Friday. Space Station are in a tough spot if they don't prevail. The only good news is that they've got that match later on today where they can try to salvage some points. BDS will be taking on W7M, and that could be an incredibly pivotal matchup, depending on what occurs for BDS versus Fury. Nice shot from Herds, yet he doesn't see that one coming. And still patrolling this hatch, Herds with the glasses on, got his 20/20 vision, able to see all the way up from Space Station.
I know you mentioned Rampy, but I mean, Folds is 0-4, Bosco's 0-3. And sure, when one member has a hard time, SSG, they're known to struggle mentally sometimes, but Yeti has been bringing that positivity, if you'll help with that leadership role. JV now might be in trouble position, but no, he's switching confidence.
Oh my goodness, the disrespect to just swing the way they do. Houghton tries to take measures into his own hands, can't do it. He lost control of above. KZ on the flank. He shuts down Foltz. It's all on the Montaigne. 5v1. 3 of 4 rounds won by W7M have been flawless. Space Station have only been able to muster kills in 2 rounds so far. Boy, oh boy, a 4-1 scoreline. And it really does tell the story at the moment of how dominant W7M are in this match.
Yeah, and I mean, to put things into perspective, when you ask casters, fans, Reddit, Twitter, whatever, who is like the quote-unquote likely teams to make it to the grand finals and potentially win the entire thing, a lot of people are going to say W7M or FaZe Clan. And then there are some Copium Liquid fans like myself who are like, Liquid as well, because like they're really good, but they don't quite get there. And we might be in a situation where it's LATAM to beat out LATAM like at the Berlin Major, where it's like, you know, a LATAM team has to gatekeep another LATAM team in the quarters or semis because there's too many of them. But right now, that's not the case. The way the groups are built up, you have one team from each region. And right now, it's all LATAM domination with a slight asterisk next to FaZe, because while they have been very dominant in the opening day, they did not have the best results on day number 2. But for Liquid and W7M, they're not slowing down. They want to get a perfect stage here in the group stages, get all the points they can, send a message, and prove a point. Of course, if you can induce fear into your opponents before the match even starts, I mean, mentally, you've already won. And right now, SSG, they need 3 members in particular to wake up. And I have to say it again, Bosco 0-4, Foltz 0-5, Rampy 1-5, and I know it's hard, especially with how confident and aggressive W7M are playing, but you have to just muster up the courage and take those fights and try and shut them down, because if you don't, they're going to keep disrespecting you with these peaks.
Keep in mind, SSG's already taken their timeout as well, Nick.
Yeah, they have. Back in round number 3.
And what's happened since then? They haven't gotten a single kill.
Oh.
SSG took their timeout after round 3, and it's been 2 flawless, back-to-back. W7M, 3 flawless of the 4 rounds they've won. That is staggering. At this present moment, I don't think we have seen such a lopsided matchup in the groups, and it comes with only 4 games left on both of these streams. SSG across the board only has 8 kills through almost 6 rounds. That is tremendously bad. Again, W7M's defenses have been quite stifling. The team that popularized those aggressive roams are showing exactly what they can do and how formidable they can be when allowed to dominate the map. The attackers can't get map control. This is the end result.
Yeah. I mean, SSG, even if you lose this round and go 1-5, you gotta maintain composure, because W7M might not show enough respect once that side swap comes out, and maybe SSG could, you know, set a comeback into motion on their defensive half, but that shutdown on the impact grenade on that wall, X-Kairos do not get the job done. No real breach from SSG. It's troublesome.
KZ just walks in, gets hot and cold, capitalizing off of that blind spot. Fultz's next one up, but KZ gets another inside a classroom. You can't teach that. This timidness that we're seeing from Space Station, they managed to finally break that flawless streak with Bosco getting a single kill, but that might be it for Space Station this round, as it's Yeti, the final man standing for Space Station. A nice read onto JV, but the Nitro Cell seals the deal. 4-2 was the score line that you come to expect on Oregon, but W7M beats that with a 5-1 first half.
Not just 5-1, 5-1 with 3 flawless rounds. 2 of those, round number 4 and 5, were back-to-back. Opening kills, it doesn't look that bad for Space Station. They've gotten 2 of them, but it doesn't really seem to matter all that much. And I want to see 2 things, which is how, A, will SSG maintain composure and play what looks to be confidently on the defensive side, because Oregon is defender side and we cannot count them out just yet. And B, is W7M gonna run over them and make some sloppy mistakes along the way, or will they maintain respect? Hertz is showing Grim.
There's no way.
I mean, we haven't seen as far as we've cast, we have not seen a Grim being brought at this major yet. And Grim is looked
Grim
at,
is a 0% pick rate as of my stats.
Yeah, I mean Grim, competitively speaking, okay, he went off it, okay.
Oh.
Yeah, Grim, competitively speaking, is not an operator that we're expecting to see either. In that case, you'd rather play the Lion, or the Jack, or the Dokkaebi, etc., because you don't get enough utility from the particular operator of Grim to really warrant it being brought.
If you need a dedicated flank watch as well, Grim might not be the one to get it done. You're better served bringing a Nomad. We've seen a couple Gridlocks as well, because the LMG of Gridlock is still that fire hose of lead. So if you're trying to suppress somebody downstairs, well, there you go. If you're trying to suppress somebody upstairs, there you go. If you're trying to suppress somebody on the main floor, LMG is going to work out quite well. This is a laundry supply defense for Space Station, the team that is currently in free fall. W7M are very quick into the building, and they will pick up the very first kill. Fultz, 0-7.
Oh boy.
That's not the result you want.
It's not. I mean, Volp's going to continue on in. Oh, he doesn't go to the flashbang, goes to the melee instead. It's going to cost him. Hot and cold with an easy kill, but KC looking to justify those numbers and bring it back into the advantage.
Fultz still searching for his first kill. Him and Rampy being 0-1 is not what you want out of your 2 fraggers. Herds knocking on the door of the bomb site. Bosco falls, and Herds just sprints through right now.
He's
waiting
in
for a rotate. KZ is read by Rampy over towards Freezer, and there'll be yet another engagement. But W7M will decide to pause for now. Playing back by Pillar. EMP goes out, JV will follow as the blast goes. They know that the Black Mirror inside of the closet has been abandoned. SSG falling off towards the back of the bomb site. It's the first laundry take that we are seeing. Hertz doesn't have very much intel, and JV will try to engage long range based off of that, but it will be a reflex test towards Pillar. We're at the halfway mark of this round, and there's still 6 players left up. Pros decide to fake it. Herds reading into it, getting the Warden to line up. Engaging. Look at this from Herds. Well played. Timer will start running. W7M searching for match point right now. Space Station to go for a retake. Rampy above has 2 kills to his name. This could be a huge round for him, and he picks up yet another. Julio down for the count. Herd's the next one to go to hot and cold. It's JV to watch over the diffuser. Can he get into position to stop it?
Yeah, yes, the line of sight is big.
He's on freezer though, and he gets read out by Rampy. 3 kills for Rampy. A big round for Space Station. They win their second and their first defense. That's good and promising signs, but right now, W7M are still in such a good position.
One very small thing that definitely going to change the outcome of that round was the encounter between Volps and Hot and Cold, the Blitz and the Goyo. Whenever you're going for that melee animation as a shield, there is that like 0.75 second time duration where you can get shot before your melee connects with the enemy's body. That's what happened. He goes for melee, exposes his face and his chest. Hot and Cold shoots him. If you go for the flashbang, then Hot and Cold can't see. You wait half a second yourself, and all of a sudden he's completely blinded. Then you can go for the melee, go for hipfire, ADS, anything really. Volps, with the split-second decision, took the riskier approach, which just this time did not pay off. In the midst of that, Casey and Hertz did a really good job at aggressing forward. Casey pushed through that green hallway and got into a combat engagement of his own, and Hertz on the bomb side just moments after. And it was a good rotation game from W7M. Julio was up inside of lobby on Ibana watching the flank. No one came. They bought themselves 30 seconds, then rotated back to bomb side, started that plant, and it looked promising. But Ramby's flank was perfect. Instead of going for a laundry direct flank with likelihood of more drones watching it, he went for a freezer hatch drop and got that flank immediately off the sound key of the hatch drop, and that solidified SSG's position, and therefore the 2 got the round.
Julio's name we haven't really said a lot at all, and there's been no reason to.
Oh, he's chilling.
JV and KZ have been dominating this matchup from the side of W7M, doing most of the heavy lifting on the team. KZ in particular, living up to that billing that the player has. Herds is the one to get on the board first. Rampy, after that stellar performance in the previous round, will not be particularly effective, and Foltz will join him in the afterlife, as that's 45 seconds off the board. There's still at least 2 more rounds to be played, but Foltz is struggling to get a kill. 0-8 is one of the worst performances that we've seen out of a player of his caliber so far here at the groups. Foltz is not going to be happy with it. At this point, you are so far in your own head that it starts to weigh you down, and you performing poorly becomes a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy. Hot and Cold is back to the window, allows KZ a free pick, yet he trades it out. But still, a double up for W7M. There's only 2 left for Space Station.
I mean, watching this game, it feels like it's just you're fighting ghosts. Like, there's no one there, but they're still taking damage. Then you just get shot from behind on occasion. 2v4 and Bosco and Yeti, they really gotta go big this round. Otherwise, it's match point.
This bomb site had the distinction of being one of the most favorable to the defenders when facing down long odds. Even if you were outnumbered, the fact that there are so many walls that cannot be shot through or blown open really did favor the defense. But with the changes to Oregon, it's not as friendly as it used to be, and it allows the attackers to walk in and punish you for it. Bosco punished, leaving Yeti as last alive. Diffuser going down, and Yeti gunned away by JV. That confirms W7M for Friday. They've picked up a point at minimum. They will make it to the playoffs.
Wow. I mean, not a surprise that they made it that far, but still an impressive showcasing of how they got there. And I mean, I'm sure they're not going to do anything worse now. I mean, they might know they're qualified. I bet you they want all the points. I can't read that.
We have a very tiny screen in front of us, so we can't read it. But basically it says that he was offered the role of Mountain. Yes.
There was a question in the Hot Sauce video that they did, the spoiler if you haven't seen it, asking which is the tallest player here at the Major. And I was like, I don't know. But the players in the video very confidently said, Yeti. And I was like, that seems accurate. And it is. He's the tallest player at this event through all of the players attending.
Yeah, he's a big man.
Big man, yeah.
He's a very big man. And if you've ever been around him, I don't know, Snake is pretty tall as well.
Not tall enough, apparently.
Not tall enough. I wonder if they measured them.
That's what the other members of the cast was asking. Did they actually measure them?
What we should do before the day is out, since we still do have all 16 teams here, line up every single player shoulder to shoulder based on their height. I would love to see that. It'd be quite fascinating.
Would be fascinating indeed.
Well, that's it for this matchup for W7M at least. They don't really have that much else to play for. It is entirely possible that BDS with their 6 points can finish in the playoffs, get out of groups. But W7M cannot lose first place in this group now. They have 13 points. BDS are sitting at 6 points. If BDS wins out in regulation in this match, and then against W7M later on, W7M will still finish first in this group.
Okay.
They have secured their spot, and they can just kind of coast at this point. And for a lot of teams, it is a very viable strategy. Why are you going to give away strategies that you have, operators that you have, picks that you have, when you can just conceal it? There's no reason for you to give away things that you don't have to show, and W7M have now a pretty easy day. They don't need to do anything else. They can just play some Rainbow Six Siege and relax. They've already lost KZ. Fultz is 0-9 now as he gets taken out by JV. W7M have successfully shut down the 2 star players of Space Station and the 2 aggro roamers?
Yeah.
Aggers, whatever you want to call them. They're not available. Rampy only has 4 kills, that's it. Fultz 0 if W7M wins. Fultz will finish this matchup without a single kill.
I'm very surprised that W7M did just use 1 EMP on this wall where Hot and Cold is playing to then clear the shield, because they're throwing like 7 billion flashbangs through this doorway, and it is as they recharge. So they've failed to problem solve this position now, and it's a problem for them. There's a shield behind that one as well. The only explosive thing they have left is 2 grenades from Volps, who's not there to really use that utility. And what a stalemate because of it. Waiting for a pick, for SSG to make a move. I think W7M has to make a rotation here and go elsewhere. White stairs, big window, go attic, something. This area does not work anymore.
Herds has a tiny bit of HP. Playing on this Ash operator. Very quietly searching for one of the defenders. Yeti on the flank. But he gets spotted by Herds. There you go. W7M getting their frags just as they need. You still got Rampy here holding this position. You still got Bosco holding his as well. Bosco with only 1 kill, 2. Not a great performance for the top-rated SSG player at this point. Barrel, JV, do you not see him? There you go. A bit tunnel visioned. Bosco blown up. It's all on the shoulders of Rampy. With the P90, he's got plenty of ways to pull this off, but it's JV to shut the door on the Space Station comeback. A brisk affair as W7M qualifies for the playoffs this weekend. They topple Space Station 7-2.
It's a rough start for SSG as well on the 3rd day. They need these points and they can still make it. There's still hope for them, but this loss, especially in regulation, it's going to make it that much more difficult.
Absolutely brutal day for the fraggers of Space Station. Rampy, Bosco, and Fultz combining for just 6 kills. Well, Space Station still have an opportunity to make it to the playoffs, even though their chances have been hurt an awful lot. Fury is currently playing BDS. If BDS prevails, and that means the next game for Space Station will be a must-win, and BDS going up against W7M later today is going to be a meaningless match.